If you're looking for the right time to buy or sell, but you're not really sure what's happening this spring, this video might change how you move forward. We're going to look at 4 key stats, what's happening here in Belleville and surrounding areas. Let's get to it. First, I just want to say hello. My name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'm a local realtor that works here in the Belleville, Trenton, and surrounding areas. If you have any questions after this video, want to continue the discussion, my information down below in the description. I'd love to hear from you. Send me a text, give me a call, or send me an email, and let's set it up. So as I mentioned, we're going to go and look at 4 stats that are going to give us a good idea of what's happening here locally. 2026, first month, January, is in the books, and I will say it's been a little bit wild. If you look at the geopolitical situation, what's happening around the world, quite a bit has happened in only 1 month compared to all of last year. I'd say we're in for a pretty wild year. And well, naturally, we're wondering how is this going to trickle down and affect real estate. So we're going to talk about 4 stats that just came out for the 2026 January month. And then I'm going to tell you a few key details that I think we need to be watching if you're looking to make that decision on buying and selling. First one we're going to look at here is the months of inventory. Now, months of inventory is very basic. It's essentially if you took all of the inventory, the houses for sale, and they kept selling at the same pace as they had been. How long until we run out of houses for sale? And so generally, if you have between 0 and 3 months of inventory, that means houses are selling fairly quickly. It's a seller's market. Whereas if you're between 3 and 5 months of inventory, that's more in the balanced territory. Whereas as soon as you get over 5, around 5 or over, that's very much buyer's territory, because then you're having a lot more houses that are taking a while to sell. And so looking at this one right here, we can see the full year, a full picture of what has happened. So at the beginning, we've got January 2025. We were just below the 5 months of inventory. Whereas the last few months, November, December, and now January, we are well above that 5 months of inventory. January 2026 came in at 6 months of inventory. And so that's quite interesting to see. Now, average sale price. Everyone's curious about what that is. People that are moving from the GTA or those local are trying to track where is the average house price around here. And if you look at this, it very much was in a range throughout the last year between the $500,000 and $600,000 mark, and that includes every sale within this area. But the last couple of months, we've been seeing a dip. It's been going down a little bit. December, we were $450,000, whereas January 2026, we came in at $487,000 as the average. And so we are starting to see a little bit of a trend down on that front. Number of sales. This is also matching what we just saw. And so naturally, we see the numbers lower during the winter months. Looking a year back at January 2025, we were around 65 sales for the month, and then it shot right back up into the summer months, and we reached a peak of over 160 sales. But it has been a steady decline since May of 2025, and this past month we came in at 59 sales. More on that. I think there's a few factors that might be playing into that, and we'll chat about that in a minute. Also, days on market. This one here, everyone loves to know, well, what's the expectation? How long is it taking for houses to actually move? And this is a big indicator often of what's going on with any given real estate market. How long do houses sit? And if you look here, this chart is interesting because this past month, January 2026, huge spike. The days on market is up to 70 days, 69, 70 days total on the market, which is quite a bit when you look at the whole year before it. Even in December, we were at 41 days on the market. Now, one thing I will note, last year, if you look all the way back at January of 2025, we had another spike there, and we were up to 60 days, and then it came back down, and we kind of were in a tighter range for the rest of the year. What we found last year was, even though that looked negative, what happened was a lot of houses that had been sitting on the market for a really long time, some for 200, 300, 400, I think there was one that was 500 days on the market, they just sat there and then eventually started selling in the new year. And so while it looked negative, it was actually a lot of houses that had been sitting finally started selling in the month of January. And so things were starting to move a little bit. Is that the case this month? Not really sure. We're going to have to see how it reflects in the coming months. But initially, it's a little bit of an alarming sign there that it's taking much longer for houses to sell. And so looking at all this information, how do we determine what is going on in this local market? Definitely, it's very obvious that we're starting to see a little bit of a trend down in terms of pricing. Things seem to be softening. There's more houses, there's more inventory. So how do we interpret all this? We've got these numbers. It's very clear that we're seeing a trending down in terms of pricing. Things seem to be cooling. And we're trying to figure out, well, what is going to happen going forward? I mentioned at the beginning of the video, geopolitically, a lot is happening in the world. A lot of crazy stuff going on. Even if you look at just the 1 month of January 2026, how much stuff has happened between different countries that's kind of putting people back on their heels and saying, uh-oh, there's a lot of fear happening. And even individually here in Canada, the States, everywhere else, once we're more globalist economies, meaning free trade between countries was very much something that we were striving for. Now you're seeing a lot of nationalism, people saying, well, no, let's protect our own country first, which is changing the way economies are working with each other. And that's something that definitely trickles down into the real estate market, because people's jobs, how much money they're making, will always affect the housing supply, buying and selling. So that's one thing that we have to watch for, but that's a very unpredictable thing. All we know from that is that people have a little bit of fear and they're sitting back a little bit. Another thing I mentioned about these numbers was how we're seeing a little bit of a spike in the month of January, and inventory's up, sales are down. And one thing that you have to be aware of, and if you're from a different part of the country, is it's been extremely cold and snowy so far this year. Specifically, the month of January, I know even my area here, generally I have to use a snowblower a couple times, 3 times in the winter. I've used it more this winter than I have in the last 5 winters combined. We have had so much snow. It's had very cold temperatures at night. It's very much affecting the way people are moving around. I think we had 8 snow days, maybe even more, just in the month of January for kids going to school. So the patterns of people putting houses on the market, going and looking to buy a house, I would definitely say that's had an effect because people are staying inside and they are waiting. And so that's something that is going to be affecting these charts. Now, the most important thing, in my opinion, that comes from all this is the inventory. What I'm seeing is a trend towards houses are going to be coming on the market, but they are not selling very quickly. And what happens there is that you build inventory. You get more houses to choose from, so buyers can be picky. Whether that continues, I don't know, but that's a trend that we're definitely seeing, and that's what we're hearing from a lot of different people. And so if you're in the camp where you're looking to purchase, whether you're in the local area, Belleville, Trenton, and surrounding areas, or if you're coming from bigger cities such as in the Greater Toronto area, well, this is a fairly good opportunity. Whether it continues to go down, nobody knows. But as it stands right now, for sure there will be people, there will be sellers that are willing to negotiate quite a bit on the price side of things. Now, if you're in a position where you're wanting to sell, well, then you're going to have to be a little bit smarter on this, because every buyer is going into it that mindset of we want less. We want to spend less on and offer less. So you have to price with that in mind, and you have to set your expectations in terms of how long it might take to actually get the house sold. This past month, we just saw 70 days on average, but that means generally that it's ramping up from there. And we'll have to see where that goes. And if you're doing both, if you're looking to sell a house and buy a house, well, then you're going to get the good from one and the bad from the other. And generally those will cancel each other out. But you have to just be aware of how you structure that. Because before, you used to be able to say, well, I'll go ahead and I'll worry about maybe getting out there to buy and then I'll sell at the same time. That's a risky strategy now. Whereas now you're seeing people more so saying, I got to worry about selling before I can even try to buy something, because it might take so long to sell that the houses I was looking at first won't even be available anymore. And it'll be a different set of houses when I finally get to the point where I can buy. And so a lot of little details to talk about. Hopefully this is helpful as you look at the market and try and make a decision going forward. Like I said, if you want to continue this discussion and kind of dive into it a little bit deeper, my name is Jeremy Tremblay. I'm a realtor that works here in this local area of Belleville, Trenton, and the surrounding areas. Reach out. My information is down below in the description. You can give me a call, a text, or an email, and we will connect. Until next time.